we are God's co-creators. It's a privilege, it's a gift that we sometimes take for granted. However, there is also not the reality for some couples, not by choice, they are unable to have children. And we must be mindful that it is a cause of real suffering for them. There's a certain online counselor ministering to those women who have unrealized dreams of motherhood. The name is Anna Petrogracia. And she describes not having children when a woman desperately wants them. I'll try to read this verbatim so you could understand. It's like octopus with big tentacles that reach into every facet of your life. It's a type of greed that is gut-wrenching, a direct assault on a person's identity and feeling out of place in this world and their self-worth. The greed is disenfranchised, meaning people around you don't recognize that it's a real thing to be upset about. So, this is the reality for some whom not by choice, they are not given the chance to have children. But remember, there's also what we call spiritual parenthood. So, a couple who have not yet realized biological parenthood is a family. So we have to remember that. And again, to be aware that if ever there are some of our brethren who are in this kind of situation, we must be careful. We should not just joke about it because they're undergoing pains in this situation. Pope Benedict XVI affirmed this when he said that parenthood, father and motherhood, is not solely a biological reality, but is expressed in diverse ways. There's also the option for adoption, and it's an invitation in terms of generosity, and it allows now the fruitfulness to come in. Though filled with uncertainty, one can never regret being generous. Adopting is showing generosity. This is fruitfulness. And what's wonderful about this is that this love gives life as we offer a family with someone with none. So, the fruitfulness in our families is also a calling to be a gift to the community. Our thriving marriages will allow our family to thrive, and so will the community. As Pope Francis said, no family can be fruitful if it sees itself as overly different or set apart. And I believe this talks about Purpose for Christ, wherein we always try to evangelize other families. And our catechism also teaches that every person is meant to be part of society. We have to be in union, communion, and from that union and communion, we will realize what it means to be a gift to each other. So, could you talk to the person behind you and tell that person, you are a gift. You are a gift. Isn't it wonderful to say, you are a gift. You are a present. Every present is always something to be happy about. So whenever you see each other, you are a gift. So, family, there's some emotions happening here. So, family, become who you are. This is God's call for the family, which is summarized in the Francis Consortium. We follow this to make God's plan happen too. The existence of the family is not without a purpose. So we're now going to the word as a section. Family comes from the word familia, which means household servants.
Actually, that's a
Imagine
great
the word family, household servants.
pajamas.
The root word of family is family, which means servant. And even in the time of Abraham, families have been in service to the community, to the household, and to the Lord. If I'm going to interpret this only means we have to serve each other in our family. So brothers, serving would also mean us helping in the household chores. Am I right, sisters? You know, when you always say that, the sisters would always say on resounding, yes. But mind you, we can do that. We can do that. My favorite place to clean is the bathroom. That's my assignment. So,
That's my job.
family servanthood begins in the family. Nurture humility and obedience. If we nurture it, this will bloom to authentic servanthood. Again, the question at the start of the session, why do we talk about humility, obedience as connected with the family? Because humility, obedience, servanthood will start in the family. And this is the mission outline, servanthood, the mission outlined by St. John Paul II in Familiaris Consortium. And mission can mean many words relevant to the life of every family. It can be a task, a duty. It can also be a journey where we are sent. And it is also synonymous with a calling. And the mission is designed to be with somebody. God gave us husbands to be our Ezer, our helpmate. So, I call my dear Ezer my one and only, without which I cannot do this mission. I call on my wife, Rachel. So, we start with the first mission. Live as a community of persons. A family is a community of persons, parents, children, relatives, called to live in communion. Again, to dissect it, communion comes from the word communionem, meaning fellowship, mutual participation, and sharing. As a family, we are to live our truth in love, live in communion, and share or exchange intimate thoughts and feelings. The family, cradle of the very first of a person. And in Compass for Christ, we talk about service. We get to define what service is, the way it is experienced in our families. And we in turn serve others the way we experience it in our family.
Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, I just left the tech booth and they're already lost. Hello, Brother Nash. Anyway, B-Boy's love language is acts of service. Are you aware of the 5 love languages? And that has not changed for the past 27 years that we are together. That is why it is so easy for him, for me to request him to clean the bathroom. Kasi easily yan, because that's his love language. And somehow, because this is his love language, this is how we also live as community of persons in our home. That is how he trains our children. And we believe that every person is a gift, and every person has a gift, meaning something to offer. We are a household of no helpers. Yes, that is true. We live in the Philippines, but we don't have helpers. And with that in mind, we have to train our children to help out. Because naturally, I cannot, or B-Boy, we cannot do it on our own. And we believe that raising our children to be able to do something for themselves and to help in the house is also a way to live as a community of person. So one day, in our normal days that Rafael, our eldest, is collecting the garbage, collecting the laundry, sorting them out, so that it will be ready to be loaded to the washing machine. And when it all dries up, after he hangs them, he collects them and sorts it to whoever belongs that piece of clothing. And then Miguel, our second, is very good in cleaning. He cleans to the dot, and he loves gardening as well. Our third son, Gab, has developed gift in cooking. So he helps me in planning for our meals and at the same time prepares the food. And Uriel, our 12-year-old now, does anything that all of us ask him to do. From gardening, handling the pets, because we have birds, we have dogs, cats in the house.
And we have snakes.
And we have snakes.
Snakes
Now we have 4 sons. Imagine I have 4 sons and they do all of those. And our first 2 sons have autism. So one day Miguel forgot to cook rice because that is also his role in the family. He cooks rice every meal. So when we were about to eat, lo and behold, we realized we do not have rice. And you could just imagine how the rest of the family were bickering and, yeah, sorry to say, almost cursing him already. What? You forgot to cook rice? It's already 12:30. Do you know how hungry he was? And so on and so on. But that was a teachable moment for us. You know, I could easily buy rice, diba? In the Philippines, it's easy to buy cups of rice. 10 piso, 5 piso, and so on. Or there's a nearby Jollibee. But no, we did not. I instructed our second son, cook rice and we will wait for you. So all the more, the others got angry. But later that day, I overheard number 3 and number 4, Gab and Uriel, talking to each other, feeling so bad, blaming their Kuya Miguel for what had happened. And committed na, okay, starting today, instead of blaming, we will remind each other to remind Kuya to cook rice. So this never happens again. And then Miguel, on the other hand, placed an alarm on his phone every before meals to cook rice 3 times a day because we also eat rice for breakfast. 2 learnings in our family that no family member would intentionally cause inconvenience to anybody. Is that right? Yes. So we must give each other the benefit of the doubt and strive to understand. Second, realizing that one has a weakness or is being challenged. What do? That is what family is for. So blaming is never fruitful, but generosity can.
So, the family is a kind of school of deeper humanity. Education, formation of this significance occur when there is active humility and obedience. To give and receive, and this could only be perfected through sacrifice. Humility and obedience is perfected through loving sacrifice. And this can only be nurtured in our families. So the second mission is to be one with life. To get the gift of being created in God's image and likeness is the invitation to be co-creators. To share in God's creative power through biological and spiritual procreation. Note that we are called to be biological and spiritual parents. And in CFC, we are blessed to be given this opportunity. As we are nurtured, we nurture our families and are blessed to be part of God's spiritual family. CFC is pro-life, and this is expressed in our openness to life. Contrary to what the world tells us, every child is a blessing and never a burden. We welcome children of other families. That's why for the family ministries coordinators here, they're actually acting as spiritual parents for the KFCs, the YFCs, and the SFCs, who are the family ministries coordinators here, couple coordinators. Can you stand up?
Yeah, they're falling asleep.
Nobody's, only one couple. Two. Okay. So,
Spiritual parents.
not only biological, spiritual parenthood. So, we intentionally build a healthy family culture through virtues and values. We value the equal dignity of man and woman in every family. And another thing, we care for the elderly because we value them as protectors of culture and prove the continuity of life. And studies will show that the presence of grandparents in the lives of the grandchildren will lessen depression by 30%.
And their grandparents here.
Yeah. So, it's something that we have to look at. But for the grandparents, I also caution you not to be totally, how do I say it? Example, for the grandparents, when you were raising your children, you say, don't eat this, don't eat too many sweets, too many ice cream, and then your grandchildren came along. And once your grandchildren says, Lola, I want some ice cream. Oh, really? I'm going to give you all the ice cream you like. So you're confusing now how the parents are teaching the children in terms of what you are now telling them.
You know, the household, I don't know if you agree with me, is one of God's precious gifts to CFC. Do you agree? Yes. You know, we cannot be grateful enough for the relationships that we have built and nurtured and the experience that we had shared in our households. Now, one day, it's our turn to host one. You know, everybody gets excited hosting a household. I don't know if it was Brother Arnel who said na, GA na naman, household na naman. But for us, I hope that when it is our turn to host a household, we are excited. And this day we are. And for us, preparing for a household is a family thing. So one day, something unexpected happened at work. I was still working at that time. And I was not able to get off early as expected. When we have a household, I get off early so I can prepare. Since our love language is service, I would like to feed or to nourish our household members with good food. And that involves also with my children's health. So driving, I first fetched my kids, and then we were driving to the grocery, but since I left work late already, I told my children, we're going to get things done in 30 minutes. I need your cooperation. You get this, you get this, you get this, and we'll meet in the counter. We have to be out there so that I can cook and that the entire household does not have to wait. We were very successful. In less than 30 minutes, we are done. But as we were heading to the car, Miguel, our number 2, yes, the one who forgot to cook rice, we were walking that way, he went to the right. Sabi ko, what's happening? Where is this man going? I cannot believe how he can easily forget my request that I am in a rush to go home so I can cook. You know what he did? Ask me what? Huh? Buy rice. Di naman, layo na nun. He helped an old lady whose grocery bag ripped apart and everything else were rolling out of it, and they were all on the parking lot. So he picked them up one by one and helped the old lady put it in her car. Imagine, just imagine how many minutes that took. Imagine. Considering how we value mindfulness, because people always tell our children you have to be mindful, sensitive to the needs of others, I think B-Boy or both of us is to blame for this behavior of Miguel. For finding every opportunity to help, and yes, he helped. But you know, I was worried to make my household wait. And I know that making them wait might not make them feel that we love them. But then Miguel, we were in the car waiting and I was really trying to calm myself. Miguel came back very happy, very fulfilled, and told me, "Ma, I just helped the lady. I am sure your household would understand."
So, as Rachel, as was mentioned a while ago, we have two special children. That's why we make ourselves available to families with members with special needs. We cannot fully describe what one goes through when a family member is challenged. But we know that our presence, our readiness to listen can matter to them. So, in the same manner, our households is a way for us to really understand each other better, to be present, to be ready to listen to one another.
You know, St. John Paul said that the wound is your calling. Meaning, if we have been wounded by a certain situation, that is a calling for you. So, sharing our journey of raising two adults with autism is something that we do passionately as people say. We can never say no to a parent who asks for our help or asks for our time. While not everything we do may help them, we know that something still could be done. Now, our third son, Gab, has to endure so much. Imagine he followed two special needs children, two people who's supposed to be his big brother or kuya, but he now ended up taking care of them. One day, when I was baking some cookies, because they were also on a special diet, the gluten-free diet, this third son of mine, Gabriel, who was only 9 years old then, approached me and said, "Ma, can I have those cookies?" Because you know, if you spend time doing it, it means it's special. But then I said, "Oh no, anak, wait, but this is for your special brothers." And you know, it ripped my heart when he asked me, "Why am I not special?" Now 18 years old, Gab shares in managing Rafael and supporting Miguel. In fact, we left them, all of them with him, especially when we are on mission. He reads more about their condition, buys books, reads in the internet to help them more, and really makes suggestions to us on how to manage them. And in fact, we are very grateful that he's even discerning to take a course in university that will even help people with special needs.
The third mission is to vitalize society. The families where citizens are born and the first school of social virtues. The values we nurture in the family become society's values. Strong communities can only come from strong families. As what St. John Paul would say, as the family goes, so goes the nation. While it seems society can mold the family, God's plan is the opposite. Our families should in turn be the one forming society. And this is what CFC is called to. So,
Sorry. I am grateful for CFC for leading us to our work for the poor through Angko, and the family is a gift because these are our ways of vitalizing the society. Little did we know that our struggles, even though we have special needs kids, will also be part of the solution to the many attacks and challenges every family faces. Everything that happens in our family will significantly affect the society. However we deal with every challenge in our family also affects the society. So we openly discuss things in the house because this is also our way of seeing how they think about things, divorce, abortion, same-sex attraction, and so on. And we believe that through the many blessings of service in CFC, we are also able to vitalize the church and the society. We, bringing our children to the family ministries is never easy. Do you agree with me? Well, we don't bribe them, but we encourage them a lot, and there's just so much talking, especially in the Philippines. But we are grateful that because they love us and they love God, that even though they struggle, they join. We have a KFC, a YFC, and an SFC. That even though we are not home, like right now, they have youth camps, they have teaching nights, they still attend, and they got used to us being, bringing them there and so on because they have special needs. But now they are even using public transportation to be able to reach their gatherings for the family ministries. But with the help of the family ministry formation, my boys are even sometimes the first to pull out money when there are beggars on the street. In one of the family meetings that we had, B-Boy led us to decide that was the Christmas time, I think, that whenever people give them financial gifts, at least 10% should be given to those who are in need. You know, our eldest son, Rafael, if there anybody here who has special needs kids, they love water. And he could spend hours and hours with the shower open and just taking a bath. He will not stop. So we are always on alert whenever he enters the bathroom. Because mindfulness is something that we teach in the house. So, because we believe that whatever we can save in these little things, saving electricity, saving food, and saving water, as we said, it's not being stingy or kuripon, but because whatever we can save there is to be used to help other people.
The last mission is engaging with the church. Engage comes from a French word, engager, meaning pledge, spark, contribute. So in English, it comes in various definitions: enter into, commit, interlock. And we would say that the mission of the family is that one that we are meant for. God desires us to fully engage with the church. From my parents to our sons, it is through CFC that we primarily engage with the church. While we're given opportunities, other opportunities to do so, it primarily flows to CFC. It is by being CFC that we commit and fight for our faith. Our yes to God and to CFC means our humility and obedience. And every time, we brothers, we give our yes to CFC in a new service, to the church, to the mission, we also give the yes of our wives and children.
Almost a year, I just realized, last August 1 of 2023, B-Boy is officially unemployed. He resigned from a work 2 years shy away of a regular retirement. Hindi pa po siya retired. This went through years of discernment, and I was very comfortable. Our entire family was very comfortable whenever he shared his thoughts on resigning and not waiting for his regular retirement. And if you compute that, that's a very, very big sacrifice on our end. Whenever financial incentives come, bonuses, because he works in a bank, he would always think twice. My clothing allowance, my second quarter bonus is coming, I will not yet tender my resignation. Suddenly, whenever that bonus would come, we are reminded of what we are actually giving up. But one day, God became so clear. He is to give his yes, he is to give my yes, and he has to give my children's yes to God. So, on that day, August 1, I woke up early, body clock. I had to cook breakfast because he will need to leave early, and I have to prepare his meals that he will take on as baon, bring to work, because he brings in his lunch and merienda to work. But I realized, why did I wake up early? I don't have to. He does not have to leave early. And there's no need for me to prepare breakfast early. However, brothers and sisters, I was in tears. For the first time since we talked about that and he finalized his resignation, I was crying August 1. I was confused what my tears meant because I was so excited looking forward to that day. You know, spending more time with him because our time is divided between CFC and work. And you know, what I hated most was asking permission from his boss. That we have to go on mission, that we will have to be gone for a couple of days or weeks, or we couldn't even go on mission because his boss would not allow him. But then I realized why I was crying. It was mixed emotions. Reality stepped in and I had a moment of fear. Remember, brothers and sisters, we have 2 adults with autism and we are not sure of their future. I have a son who's going to college and that requires so much from us. And a 12-year-old kid who will still spend a lot of years going to school. My question is, can we pull this through? When B-Boy finalized his resignation and called for a family meeting, most were so supportive. All of us were so supportive. They were in during the discernment. Uriel, our youngest son, was the most excited because he looked forward to more time with Dad. We are a homeschooling family, so he was really excited. Oh, Dad will be spending more time teaching me history. Yet he was the one who asked, how will we eat? My father-in-law, whom we call Papa, was a full-time pastoral worker till his retirement age. He left a promising career at the age of 40 when his children were in law school, in dentistry, and in medicine, and B-Boy in a 4-year course in college. Naturally, my mother-in-law was in full support for him and was with him everywhere. But today, I am blessed. I have sisters-in-law who is a doctor, a lawyer, and a dentist. B-Boy said earlier that we tend to make the same mistakes because we forget who we are. But when he did exactly what my father-in-law did, resigning from work to serve more, it's not because we forgot. We forgot? No, it's because we clearly remember how God loves us tremendously and immensely, that His promise of faithfulness is beyond perfect. Who are we to say no? Who are we to say no to that invitation to serve more? Besides, as one CFC said, how can you say I love God when you are selective in your obedience and humility? How can we say we love God when we choose when to obey? We are saying yes to commit and fight for His family, and it is our way of vitalizing the church. Right now that he goes to the Global Mission Office almost every day, yes, I get to come with him, and yes, I get to spend extra time with him. But it's still different. Recently, our youngest son, Uriel, asked if he could come. Why? Ask me why. Why? Because he was wondering, when Daddy was working in the bank, and now that he's working for Couples for Christ, how come he comes home later now? But, so my husband allowed to bring him in, and after a day at GMC, Kuya Nash, can you show that slide with a picture of my... He told us, now I understand, and CFC is full of friends, and is such a beautiful community.
One of the biggest challenges of our family is the mental health condition of our eldest and only daughter, who lives in Canada. She has bipolar disorder, and in May 2023, she had severe manic and depressive episodes that led to her confinement in a mental facility.
We found ourselves looking at the sky, praying, crying, and begging our Blessed Virgin Mary to accompany our daughter, to intercede for us, and pray for Jesus to heal her. We were able to bring our daughter to Manila in June 2023, and after months of proper medication and therapy, our daughter was able to recover, and she returned to Canada last January 4, 2024. During these most trying times, in our deepest prayers, God reminded us of the following. Anyone may suffer from fear, shame, and loneliness. No family is perfect, and each family member is God's gift to us. Let us share our stories with our children and bring them closer to God.
Let us listen to our children. Lastly, seek the intercession of Mama Mary. With all these experiences, we praise and thank God.